Westminster Class of 1972, Recurring Monthly Lunch, and we've got a nice crowd here today. And our format today is going to be this: we're going to go around, and each person is going to have 5 minutes to introduce themselves, and then to tell a story. And it can be anything as long as it's clean and not illegal. Now I'm going to.
Why do you look at me when you
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
enough of that. Right? Enough of that.
But I'm going to go ahead right now and talk about this gentleman to my right, Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson and I went to Westminster together in the summer of 1969. We went to football camp. I didn't know anybody at Westminster except my first cousin once removed, Trisha Reed, and I did. And
Hard labor creek.
that's right. And
Whenever
Gary
see
and
that,
I
think about
Cheerleaders were not there.
Gary and I were there together, and we became friends. And I don't know if you know this, but Gary was in a very tragic car crash about 25 years ago. And since then, he's been unable to drive. And as a result, whenever Westminster has an event, an alumni event, I'll call Gary and take him. And so we've been almost perfect attendance to every football game, every homecoming game.
I appreciate it. We live in the East Coast.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Gary
Well,
Anderson.
hello everybody.
Let me just.
I'm Gary Anderson. And I met, as Matt said, I met him back in 1969 at Hard Labor Creek Rutledge football camp. And then also when Matt pulled up to the school in his brand new Oldsmobile 98 convertible. And I said, man, that'd be nice to have my friends got, because I was just an 8th grader, no driver's license, no car, and I had a serious girlfriend. I said, that'd work out nicely having a friend that's got the transportation.
That's why you like me.
So we started, him and his girlfriend, Donna Bearden, and me and my girlfriend, Susan Harris, we used to date. We thought we were big time right around that 98 convertible, scooting around all over Atlanta.
So Matt's always been your chauffeur.
Oh, yeah.
Even way back then.
He's still chauffeuring me now. I was in a near-fatal car accident about 25 years ago, so I ain't started back driving yet. So I'm forever grateful to Matt driving me back in and driving me now. So I'll tell you one quick funny story. When Matt was running for class president back in was it 71 or 2, and he had this old pickup truck looked like Beverly Hillbillies with plywood on the side. And he stopped by the governor's mansion, got Lester Maddox to endorse him. He came to school this time on the side, said, Lester Maddox says vote for Matt Flournoy for president. And his opponent, Kevin Kaufman, called who answered the phone. The governor's man said, they didn't know anything about that. That was all a crock. So Kevin said, it's all a big hoax. Matt didn't have, and that night on TV, Lester Maddox, after he rode his bicycle backwards, he did endorse Matt. Yeah, that was pretty funny. A little extra driving my bicycle backwards, remember that?
All right, give it up for Gary. Okay. Excellent, Gary. Way to start out. And Upshaw Perry.
Yeah, okay. Well, I live up in Cumming, Georgia. I have 4 children, 3 boys, 1 girl. Got a grandson that I've been raising since he was born. And I'm working at an elementary school as a one-on-one nurse, and I have this precious little boy I work with that is 5 years old. Oh, good. And it's just the best job I ever had. I just love it. I'm trying to fix up my house because I'm getting ready to sell it, and there's so many things that need to be worked on. But anyway, life is good, and it's just great to be here with all you fine folks.
Oh, thank you. Chuck?
These stories, are they past or present or
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
It could be something interesting that happened this week. So.
I'll tell a story about college days. That could give you
All right. Cool.
But I'm Chuck LaCroix, and glad to be here with all these fine folks, especially Gary. Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you too, bro.
I'm going to tell a story on Gary, actually, and everybody knows this, I know, but that state football game, North Fulton, I'll never forget it. Of course, I was a cheerleader. You know, we were watching things right on the side. And, so what was it? The score was 7. North Fulton scored at the end of the game, toward the end of the game, made it 7-6. We were winning 7-0 before that. Gary was intent on blocking the extra point for North Fulton to win that game.
I think it was
And-
Lakeshore game that.
Was it Lakeshore? No, okay,
jumped
Lakeshore.
left.
I was going to say that. But I was going to let you know.
It was a football game.
It's Lakeshore.
Yeah, Lakeshore.
It might have been our junior year. No, go ahead. It's senior year.
It was senior
Senior
year.
year. I know that.
And so
It was playoff.
Gary, wants to anticipate the hike so he can block the extra point. First time he miscalculated, jumps over the center. Nobody else place just was laughing.
Yeah, I apologize. I know two group salads. I got everybody else. Meatball sandwich,
Two meatballs right here.
Fish.
2 meatballs,
I
No, 1, 2.
1, 2,
had the fish sandwich.
The
Attendees.
and you're having.
Eggplant parm.
Gotcha.
Can I edit that out, man?
So anyway,
Back to Chuck.
so Gary jumps over the line at the wrong time. The whole Lakeshore side laughs. Flag. Well, the next play he timed it perfectly.
Jumping over the center.
Over the center, smashed the extra point
And
kicker,
won by
And we went
and won
7-6.
by 1.
Right.
I'll
Yeah,
never forget.
76, and that's illegal now. You can't
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can't do that now.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh, you
well,
leapfrog.
because of Gary, right?
So Gary.
But Gary did that during the regular season when we played Lakeshore at home.
Oh, so they had seen
So
that before.
they had seen it before. I guess they didn't remember, but
But anyway, I remember that like it was yesterday.
That was
All right, give it up for Chuck. Okay, Jeff
That was about 5
Hammett.
minutes.
You got it, Jeff.
All right, I
lemon
missed the time.
Introduce yourself to the camera.
I'm Jeff Hammett.
Thank
I
you.
started at Westminster in 1968 in 8th grade. I was fortunate to get into the school and get through. Most of what I remember, though, is about working at the Texaco station, which was around the corner, and a lot of life lessons and people, how to deal with the public and putting gas in their car and that kind of thing. And the locals in that area, in the Buckhead area, and got to put air in Lester Maddox's tires, and then also put gas in Jimmy Carter's when he was governor. His Cadillac.
Did you do auto repairs though? Did you like work on?
No, I was a pump boy.
But you also went into the automotive industry too.
I did. I worked at Ford later on, and worked for Ford for 3 years, and
Did you
then
work with Dusty Milner? I mean, because he worked there too.
at Ford and.
No, the
no,
Texaco.
Texaco.
I didn't recall that.
he probably got fired after
You
that.
didn't
I worked
inhale too many.
with Brad Thatcher, and I think KC worked there some, and a few others. It's now OK Cafe. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, it was a gas station. I remember that. But
And the floor is actually still part of the original gas station.
That's so
Cafe,
cool.
too, got a
Some of
grease
it is,
Yeah.
you can think about, they were changing oil in this space and where the bathrooms were and all that
Did
good
they
stuff.
have a Fannie Farmer candy store on the end of that?
Russell Stover.
Russell Stover.
Stover.
Russell
Behind.
Stover.
Behind,
Oh,
right
the
behind.
Mezza Stover house was
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah.
Snack
Yeah.
and Shop was back there.
Snack
Right.
and
We
Shop.
had enough
Sure.
money, we could get that, but anyway, that's 5 minutes.
All right, clap. Clap. Give it up for Okay, Jeb Howell. Jeb Howell, you're up, buddy. Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself.
I'm Jeb Howell. I came in the 10th grade to Westminster. I think anybody would say, would agree, I was a school hippie. Smoked pot. Did all that stuff.
Okay.
Just got back from a nice trip to Telluride. We had a choice between Utah and a couple other places in Telluride. We decided to go to Colorado because you can get all that marijuana there.
Legally.
I love their candy.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Now, do you want me to edit that out, or is that okay?
I'll give it.
All right.
It's legal in Colorado. So, story. I'm in the auction business. I'll tell you just a
Yeah,
quick story about
sure.
just because something just happened as a result of that. About 5 years ago, there was a fellow that had a section of the Berlin Wall. It was 5 feet wide and 14 feet tall and weighed 8,000 pounds. And in storage, it was a bankruptcy. So we you know, I knew the trustee, and we got a chance, we auctioned it, and where are we gonna put this thing? So we talked to the city of Swanee. They have, I don't know if anybody's been there. Beautiful town hall, you know, and a big green space in front of it. So the city of Swanee actually said, yeah, you can put it here. So we had hauled and set up right in front of the city hall, you know. And it turned out that one of the girls that worked there at the city hall her dad was a German guard, you know. And so we actually got interviews. We made Time magazine, and press all over the place, you know, in this thing. But I knew it wasn't going to sell for much, because who the hell's going to pay a lot for a 25,000 pound thing you can't even put in concrete? But we ended up, you know, with a big auction, you know, online bidding, people bidding from all over the country. The fellow that bought it he owned a bar there in Swanee, and he only had to move it a little ways. They only bought $25,000. So,
Wow, that's,
you know, it was all right.
that's
You know,
respectable.
well, I didn't do it to make money. I just did it for publicity, you know. He was from a former communist country, Montenegro, I think, something like that. Yeah. So, and so the woman that did the PR for us, she submitted her bill. It was like $6,000, and I said, "There's no way." You know, it was just kind of an open-ended thing. Me and the trustee agreed to use her, and so we started negotiating. And she just went silent. She never said a damn thing. And then 5 years later. 2 days ago, she sent me an email going, you know, you owe me $6,000. I said, I'm sorry, Meredith, the statute of limitations passed on this thing. You know, so anyway, that's why I told that story, just because of the.
It just happens.
Because there's 5 years.
All right, Brett.
Interesting.
Okay, now we have Bruce Bryant.
I'm Bruce. I've been shoveling the same shit since 8th grade, so I don't need to introduce myself or anything. But I gotta tell a Gary story. That was the one guy on the team that always had your back. If there was ever a fight, Gary was the second guy in. You know, if he was in hockey, he would have been.
If I didn't start it,
if he didn't start it, right? But
He'd
I remember there was a
finish it.
big fight up in Rossville. You remember that? I think you and Tex started that one.
Right, dude.
And then there was another fight down at Southwest DeKalb, and I started that one. But I mean, you were the second guy in. Before I knew it, Gary was coming in from the side about 50 miles an hour, just level somebody. So that's my Gary story. This is the guy that always had your back.
And that was on the football field, right?
It was on the football field. It's still a cheap shot.
Introduce yourself and tell us a story.
I'm Vincent Dobbs. I don't have any hair. That's okay. I'm 63.
It's not gray though.
I was a founding class member at Westminster Class in 1972. I was there in kindergarten.
Oh,
I was there with Chuck
Alpha
McCraw.
Omega, all the way.
Right.
Wow.
Right. I had to finish up somewhere else, so I left after 8th grade. And so in 1980 is where I'm going to tell my story about it. Okay? In 1980,
This ain't gonna take 5 minutes.
it's going to take a little longer. In 1980, I had finished up flight school in the U.S. Navy, and I was a helicopter pilot. I had 120 hours in a T-28 Trojan, and the balance of my time was in helicopters. That was an airplane. The balance of my time was in helicopters, and I graduated and finished in helicopters. I was now a Navy pilot.
Okay, I got you some more.
And I was sent to Naval Air Station Point Magoo at the Pacific Missile Test Center as a brand new helicopter pilot. I was brand new. I was the youngest guy. I was the new guy who knew nothing. I had under 300 hours of total flight time. A short time after I got there, I'm only 24 years old, or 25 maybe. A short time after I got there, they decided that they needed to deploy one of the helicopters out to a ship on the Pacific Missile Test Center. And so they had to pick, all these guys knew how to deploy the helicopters with all the maintenance and the boxes and everything they had to do. I knew nothing about any of this. I was the new guy. At the last minute, none of the pilots wanted to go. Nobody wanted to go to sea. They were all on shore duty. And so they turned and said, send the kid. So there I was going for the first time. I was going to go to sea, right? And so there was, I was out there, and we were going to do 2 different missions. We were going to jam Russian ships, trawler ships that were listening to the operations, and we were going to do missile recovery on the test missiles out there. And we were working along from the USS Vancouver off of the coast of San Diego and that area. Los Angeles, San Diego area. And we were out one day while we were doing this, and we were jamming a Russian trawler. And so, as we got done with the mission, we turned around to come in, and we were heading back for the USS Vancouver, and suddenly, Air Crew said, "Sir, I think we have a fire in the engine. Something's smoking back here." And I was sitting there very calmly in the co-pilot seat, and suddenly the red engine fire handle light goes off in the helicopter. There I am.
Hey, Janet, welcome.
Brand new.
We're in the middle of a good story.
Brand new.
We'll get.
Sit down and make yourself
Brand new guy. There I am. And the helicopter fire light comes on.
Over the water.
And we're over the water with the helicopter. And as far as we know, it really is on fire because the air crew's in the back telling us that it's smoking.
Oh.
And so normally the first thing you'd want to do is verify that it's a fire before you go pulling that handle, right? Because when you pull that handle, you're not going to have the engine ever again, right? The problem that we knew about was that we were loaded with this jamming equipment, and we knew that we were not single engine capable. This had all been cleared through Washington. This mission had been cleared all the way to Washington because we were going to operate.
I just want to interject.
I
want to interject.
Shut up.
How safe and secure I feel as an American that our, U.S. security is put in the hands of such a wonderful.
He helped win the Cold War against the Russians. Thank you, Vincent.
So, we're heading for the USS Vancouver, and the helicopter's on fire. Now the fire begins to grow rapidly, and the decision is made to shut the engine down. We're going to sea. We're not going to make it to the ship. So there I am. My birthday's in like 4 days. This is June 20th, or something close to that. And my birthday's in like 4 days, and I'm getting ready to ditch in the Pacific Ocean. And I'm a brand new pilot. I'm brand new. I haven't done anything. I'm brand new.
You're about to crash.
You know? And so we pull the fire handle, and the fire doesn't go out. Most of the fire goes out, but the helicopter's still burning. We're heading down toward the ocean. One engine's driving the two rotors of the H-46 helicopter. There's 3 air crewmen in the back and me and the pilot. We smash into the water, bam-o. We tried to flare it. We didn't have the power in the flare. And it hit, the waves were so high, smack, as the wave came up, and it busted the hellhole door open of the helicopter. Now the crew's back there going, "Sir, we're taking on water in the back here." And we're like floating in the water, in the water. Man, this thing has a hull on it. We're bouncing through the water, and I'm looking at the rotor tips out in front of me, and I'm knowing if that rotor tip hits that wave, we're all going to die. It's going to come back, it's going to hit this helicopter, parts are going to be going everywhere. And so the pilot's yelling for a restart. I'm going back to him, I'm going, the restart's out of the question. T-handle can't be reset. He's like, right, okay. So the decision is made to shut the helicopter down. So he says, shut it down. So I pull the engine condition lever off, and I hit the rotor brake because we want to stop the rotor before it hits anything because it'll kill everybody, right? That rotor stops, the helicopter flips over and it's underwater like that. It's gone, right? So the air crew had been told they had jumped out with the raft ahead of time. And the pilot had said, "What do y'all want to do?" And they said, "We want out." And he said, "Go now." And as I looked back, I saw them diving to get beneath that rotor and out with that. And I saw the raft go with them. And I knew they got the only raft. And we're left. Okay. So I shut it down. It went on the pilot's side. And I came right out my emergency door to the top. And I was in the Pacific Ocean all by myself. And I knew I'm probably going to die here.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Right? I'm lost at sea and I'm alone.
You're not with the other guys?
No, they're in the raft, and I can't see them. I can't see him. The pilot, he was in the helicopter. It went on his side. It was gone. And I was like, shit.
You gotta go get it.
And so I'm like sitting there floating there, and suddenly the pilot comes out of the water. Mike Riley. And I'm like, oh, I'm not glad to see you, man. You know,
He was glad to
all
see
over
you.
I was just glad to see
Did you
you.
have anything to hold on to?
And so, no, we didn't have any. We had our survival gear was on us and our things, and we inflated our vests. We're floating in the water. So we can't see the men in the raft because we're in 10-foot seas. The raft's over there, way over there, and we can't see them or hear them or anything. We're alone in the water, you see.
The helicopter sink?
No, the helicopter's gone, man. It sunk. The second I hit that rotor
already
brake.
sunk.
It went over and under the second I hit that rotor brake. I was underwater when I got out. I thought the pilot was dead. I was pretty sure he was gone with the machine. And so there I was floating along in the water, and we knew in about 50 minutes you'll die. About 50 to 55 minutes in this water, 52 degrees, you're going to die. We were all taught that, right? Now, when the helicopter had started to catch on fire, I had made the calls on the Mayday, on the frequency, on the emergency frequencies. I had made the calls, so we were presuming that other helicopters were looking to rescue us. We were hoping that, you see, especially our other helicopter on our detachment, because I had given them a shot off of the ship when from attacking, and anyway, I gave them navigational information. But we kept flying, so it wasn't exact where we were. Anyway, so the helicopters are all looking for us, and we're in the water to know it. So we know the first thing to do is to use everything we can with our hands, because we're going to lose our hands. You're taught this. We tie ourselves together with our little rope things, and then we shot off all of our smokes and flares that we had, because we knew in a little while you won't be able to operate these things, right? And so then the last thing we did was we deployed our dye markers. Yeah. And a dye marker is a yellow dye that you put into the water to turn the water color. It works only in the daytime, obviously, right? But it'll turn a big spot of water color around you so the other helicopters might be able to find you. So the last thing we did while we could was put out that dye marker. The dye marker is what saved our lives. That's how they found us, right? So, and about coming on to the death line where we had nothing left, there was a helicopter. It was our other helicopter on our detachment from the USS Vancouver. I knew the guys flying, you know. There they do. So, the first guy coming up is me, because I'm the junior guy going up the hoist to be rescued, right? So as I go up the hoist, I can look down and I see the air crewman in the raft floating over there. And I look down at the pilot with all the noise and the 60 knots of downdraft and all the noise of that helicopter. I whistle like that, and he heard me, and I went like this to him. And he was so happy because he knew I was signaling to him that those men were alive, and he was terrified because they were his responsibility, right? And so into the helicopter I was taken, and he was taken. They went and got the guys out of the raft, back to the ship we got, and that's why I'm here today.
Give it up for that. Okay. Bill, introduce yourself and tell us a story.
If this is in order, if you're doing this,
Listen up.
you're doing this.
Yeah, right.
No, when you edit it, are you going to doing it linearly?
Didn't have to do it.
No editing.
No editing.
No.
So I want to put a shout out to our former lieutenant commanders here for keeping us safe. Because I will tell you that when I lived in D.C. Going to college, I do remember going to a party in Georgetown and burning my draft card.
Literally?
With an assistant U.S. attorney. There was a fire in the fireplace, and of course it was the height of Nixon and the war. Not the height of the war, but the war was still going on, and we were talking about burning draft cards. And so, with another guy who was an assistant U.S. attorney, we threw our draft cards into the fire. So,
Wow.
And I also like Jeb. I joined in 10th grade, and Jeb introduced me to some of that silly weed.
Okay, tell it all.
He turned me on, and I did my share turning on other members of our class, some of whose mothers still hate me. I won't mention Dr. Mildred's last name.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, and then my father got transferred to New York, and so I made the decision not to stay as a dorm student and go to New York, and had a good year there. It was my third high school, because when we moved down here the summer before freshman year, my parents put me in the best high school in Atlanta. It was called W.F. Dykes High School.
Oh,
And I was the most miserable kid there, because not only was new, I was a damn Yankee.
Oh.
And I had a friend who had moved in from Chickamauga, Georgia, and a friend who moved from Ohio, and that was it. So I had 2 wonderful years at Westminster, and I want to thank most of the people at this table and others.
Most of them.
When did you leave Westminster?
After junior year.
Okay.
So I went away after junior. I was just there for 2 years.
When were you at
See, I
Dykes?
left
I was
about the
there in
same time you
68,
did.
69. When were you at Dykes?
I was Dykes just 68, 69, ninth grade.
Well, I was in 8th grade. I was in the 8th grade.
You were there?
68, 69.
We were there together.
Yeah.
Did you know Debbie Basil?
No.
Did you know
That
Debbie
year
Basil?
was pretty much expunged from my memory.
They sold me.
It was the worst year. Freshman year's not good.
Okay, we're losing it here. Okay.
Anyway, and that's my story.
Okay, give it up for.
The Yankee.
Okay. Now, okay, now we're going to, now it's Joanne's turn. Pay attention to Joanne.
Kingston, right.
And do not hijack the conversation. It's all her. You can ask germane questions, but don't hijack it.
Did you go to Woodstock? What is it, 68? Well, it was right near your
I
house.
was
Too young.
I was too young.
You were too young?
I was too young.
Oh, your dad wouldn't let you
It was
go?
69. I was.
You
Was it
were
69? Okay.
Yeah, it was 69. And it wasn't in Woodstock. It was at White Lake, New York. So it would have been like an hour and a half.
Okay.
So-
Joanne,
It wasn't in the real Woodstock because they wouldn't let it happen there because they didn't want the
Zoning.
town jumped up.
Joanne, introduce
So
yourself.
anyway, I'm Joanne.
Wait, listen up, listen. Joanne, tell us.
Joanne Rose Flournoy.
Hey.
And I'm married to this guy, and I am a damn Yankee also. But I feel very acclimated here in the South. But I have a story that happened this week, and it was really interesting. Is you probably know I'm a legal assistant in Matt's office. And one of the things I love to do, and I was doing this week, was I was getting ready to write what we call an offer with conditions. When we have a client who's been in a collision, we records from Grady Hospital because it happened near Grady. The crash did. She and her husband hit the median wall when another car went out of control, and she broke her sternum when the airbag deployed. So I'm looking at the Grady Hospital records, and I'm looking at the CT report. Number one, it says, case one, impression, fractured sternum. Number two, node on the lungs, could be an infection or carcinoma in situ. Now this happened
Cancer.
August 8th, and I said to myself, that's cancer, that's lung cancer.
Good.
So I said something to Matt, and he goes, yeah, give her a call. And I'm like, oh my God. So I called, they live in Florida. They were on their way back to Florida. They were up for a family reunion and visiting their kids here. So I called her Tuesday of this week, and I said, I'm not going to say her name, because it's going to be recorded, but I said, did you know? And I knew she didn't because she never mentioned it to me. I
The
said,
doctors didn't tell.
the Grady doctors saw it.
There you go.
The radiologist saw it. She brought the CD and the written report to
Of
her
the CT scan.
orthopedist of the CT scan in Florida. He never said a word to her. So she immediately called her internist, went to his office, showed him the report, and
We
took
sent
the
the
CD
report.
there. She emailed me back. She said he was horrified that she had not been told that the doctors had missed this, and she had another CT scan yesterday. So she's going to keep me informed.
Joanne may have saved her life,
I
is
know.
what they're saying.
Or
No
let her
kidding.
know what her ultimate doom will be. But and this is a woman that's in her mid-80s.
Mid-80s.
So it's just a cautionary tale that if you have someone take a picture of you on the inside, you might want to know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible. I've never had that happen.
Well, that's very good. Give it up for Joanne.
Yeah.